Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It's August 19th. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and you can see here on the daily chart, big bearish day. We did recover some of it, but we still closed much further down. So we are getting another correction here. Fairly big sell-off today, although again we did recover a portion of it before the end of the day, but still a pretty good sell-off. So um, definitely a big downtrend today. Not a lot of setups on it on the way down. There's a few trades today, but not a lot of setups on the way down on that channel or trend channel. Yes, unfortunately, not a lot of trades off of it, but it is what it is. But let's flip over there to the 2,000 tick chart and take a look at it, and we'll go through the trades and we'll wrap this day up. Okay, here it is. We started out in this range. We went higher, found resistance at the overnight highs up here, turned down, and it was a race to the race down. Um, we didn't come back to this trend line, but maybe once, twice, and then we were headed lower, and the uh, move was pretty much over before we got another setup. So kind of a quiet day, really. As far as this trend goes, getting a chance to trade it. But there's plenty of trades here for the day. You just had to be a little patient, and there's a few green ones as well. But let's zoom in here and we'll go through the trades and we'll wrap this day up. Okay, you can see the range here. 7 o'clock came. I believe it was this bar, maybe this one. Yeah, we turned 7 o'clock right here, and that is a lower high, but it's just a, I mean, it's a 1, 2, 3, fourth entry. It's like a fourth entry. So we actually did get a new swing here. Actually, I take that back. So that's a first entry, and we got a second entry here. So let me take that back. Notice the new swing that's lower than that one, so the count starts over. So first entry, second entry. This one was tempting because it was a lower high, and but I think it was just a little early to go short. You might argue for that to be green, but I think you need to wait on this second entry that comes here. And they are a two-bar matching low, but this one makes a little higher high and still trades back down. So a break below that's going to at least give you a scalp and maybe go all the way to the other side, but you get a scalp, maybe a little more there, and then it comes back again. And this was also a triple test. So you actually could argue it's a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple test. Then it comes back and tests this resistance yet again. It actually breaks higher, fails, and turns down. So you could trade that on the engulfing bar. Most of you should not do that. Most of you should wait for this bar to close, and it still closes really bearish, so you still get a safe chance to go short there. And that's probably the move of the day so far, all the way back down to the lows. And of course, notice we make the double bottom there. And then you get a close outside on this channel working down. It tries to make a new low and can't, makes a higher low and a triple test. I like going long on that triple test, but it actually comes back and tests it once more and turns up, but you can't enter on that bar. So if you didn't enter on this second entry long, higher low, then you had to skip this one because by here it's too congested and too sideways, and so you just have to skip it. Even though it takes off and goes higher, this does not qualify for a signal bar anyway. So this one runs back up to the highs. You get a little failed breakout, and it does close back inside, and it does make a close outside. It looks like it makes a close outside here, but you might argue this is just a little bit. I mean, I don't think you would be wrong there. I think it was where I had it to begin with, because see how it doesn't quite catch that bar right there. If you get it over there where it catches those bars, then you get a close outside here to move to a new high. But either way, you still get a close outside here and a new high, and it's a second entry short. I'd count this as a double bottom down here because that's just sideways congestion. So a first entry, second entry, and then you get a lower high here as well. So if you weren't already in, you could enter right there. And that's probably the safer bet right there, because you got at least got proof that the uptrend could be changing now, and it closes back inside this resistance. And you see that there. Both of them actually closed inside, so you could take either one of those bars, but this turns out to be the move that runs down. You got a close outside new low. There's actually a higher low here. It's an engulfing bar. That bar probably qualifies, but we didn't quite hit the lows yet. And so I'd like to see a triple test here, probably before I wanted to go long. So I'd just sit on that congestion right there. And you do get the triple test, but the signal bar doesn't qualify. You see it's got too much stem there. And if that would have been a bullish enough bar, it would have been a great place to go long, but it just doesn't happen. And that's what happens to us sometimes. We don't get the setups. And, we filter our trades based on the rules. And there's a reason we use those filters. And are they foolproof? No. But they save you a lot of losses, so you're better off to stick to the rules. And even though it went higher here, notice how it did pull back first. And then it went higher. So, and it could have easily stopped you out before it went higher. It could have easily ran down to the lows again, because that was the expectation that prices would come back down here and test this again, really. So we kind of blew that out of the water here and went higher instead. So no entry there, and then we're just chopping along. There is a second entry long there. It's mostly sideways, so I think you're playing the range here, and there's not room to scalp out. And you see how it breaks out, comes back. It doesn't stop you out, and it ends up going higher, but that's what you expect to happen, it to fail, and it could stop you out before it goes higher. And there's no setup to continue on there. But I would count this as a new low here. So first entry and then a lower high second entry. And you do get a close outside and a little 2-bar matching high there. I don't think that's good enough to go short there, but if you get the lower high in the second entry right here, definitely take that one. And it gives you just enough to scalp out, and then otherwise it would have stopped you out, and then ends up going lower. So you just can't risk entering right here. That signal bar doesn't qualify. It's a triple test, and that turns out to be the better move, but that signal bar doesn't qualify. But then it runs and makes a measured move. So in my opinion, this was just a bigger range, and now we're in the other half. And notice you do get a chance to go long off the lows down here. Nice bullish bar, has enough to get out. Then you can see the trend line coming into play there. And so I don't think there's any other entries. You can't go short into that support. There's no longs, and then you just don't get a chance to enter. And then notice you get a little double bottom here, and then you get your first break of this channel with a second entry short, and you do get a close outside, a new high. There are 3 bars up there, so it's good enough for a trend. And so that's a second entry short. I like it. There's plenty of room back to that support. It ends up going a little further than that, but you would have been out already anyway, and then it turns up. And so now you got your close outside of this channel, move to a new low and a reversal, where you've already had some more support. So I like going along there just to try to ride it back to the EMA, maybe all the way back to the trend line, and maybe we go all the way back and test the top of the range again. It ends up confirming this trend line and turning down again, but there's still plenty of room to get out there, and you see it goes exactly where you would expect it to kind of go. It does turn down here, no setups to get short, and off it goes. And then we find support at the low of the day, which is, you can see right there, we're finding support. I don't see any longs or shorts. There is a triple test here. You could argue that, but I don't like the way that closed. You can argue that maybe that's still in the range. I don't think it is. I think in a worst case scenario, the lows are right along here. So it does close outside, but I just sit tight and wait. And you see we finally come back in here, and you get another shot at it, but it doesn't give you a signal bar again. It's a shame, because that's a really nice move down. And this should have had its own trend line. Doesn't really matter because you don't get anything off of it, but you can see you at least got to close outside and the new low, but you don't want to be trying to pick a bottom way down here. Just don't do it. Runs up, close outside, new high, but no setup to go short. And then it reverses and starts another leg up, but again, no chance to go long there. But notice what happens. You get a leg up, first entry, and then you try this once, twice, three times. I don't know. Maybe you can argue that's a triple test. Maybe not. Either way, though, it's a second entry short, and you do get a close outside and new high here. So maybe you go short there. I marked it green. It's not a ideal setup, but it's one you might consider. And then you turn back up here. I don't see any reason to go long there. You got those 3-bar matching highs. Yeah, it may go higher, but it's not worth the risk. I don't know that you would have gotten in it anyway, but it does run up and it turns down again right off the key entry point. No setup to go short, unfortunately. But notice what happens here. You got the new high and you run down and you get a first entry and then a second entry. So that's a failure if it breaks below that bar. And it does. So you get a failed second entry long there. So that'd be a continuation pattern off a trend line. So I like going short there. And you can see it turns out to be a pretty good move down. And we're working sideways. There is a triple test off the lows, but I wouldn't take that trade. You're in a downtrend here. I'd be looking for shorts. And it does come back and give you a chance for a short, but just no decent setup, no signal bar there that we could actually trade. Then it bounces again, but you get a first entry, second entry. Okay, had a slight interruption. I'm not sure where we left off. I think we left off with this trade. This was a failure. Turns out to be a pretty good move. This is just a first entry. It's a failed breakout, but signal bar is no good. Runs on down. We do get a first entry, second entry here. But this signal bar, this is the signal bar. It doesn't qualify, so no trade there. Another second entry here. Notice the new low, first entry, second entry, but that's a measured move. Even though we end up going much further, I'd want a really good setup to go short into a triple test low of a measured move. When I say measured move, that's based on the original range. And you can see we bounced there 3 times. We don't really get a setup to go long, and we probably shouldn't go long because we're in this big downtrend. But you got to be careful going short too. So you have to pay attention to that. But it ends up just continuing on down here. Then you get a first entry, second entry. You finally get a good setup. Notice here you got a trend working up. You get a close outside, move to a new high, big bearish bar, and it is a second entry short. Now this is an engulfing bar. You couldn't enter this one on the engulfing bar. You got to wait for this to close, but it closes very bearish, so no problem going short there. That's just a first entry, and then we're just kind of working sideways. No longs or shorts there, but just sit tight. That's just a first entry. Runs up. Now we finally get a close outside the new high, just outside the trend line. So I like going short there. Of course, that would be green. You'd prefer to have a lower high to be sure the reversal's over. And I just don't see anything there that gives you a lower high. So there's actually a second entry short right here. Notice the new low, first entry, break below that second entry. But I don't think that signal bar qualifies. It's a really nice move down too. But that's just the way it is. Same thing here, just a first entry, and that's your first close outside and no new high yet. No new low there, so this is not technically a second entry. Then we're chopping. This is just sideways stuff. Although we do break out here and turn down, it does close back inside the range. So I like playing that as a failed breakout and just going short one tick below that bar right there. And just expecting prices to at least go the other side, maybe break out and go lower. But we do have the break and new low already in place, so um, just be careful getting short from here on. And you really don't get a chance. We just start chopping sideways, and then finally we get a little rally there, close outside, move to a new high. But and that would be a second entry short on a break below that bar, but that's a engulfing bar that's it's engulfing it, and it's like 235 4 something there, so it's too late to enter now, and so nothing there. It didn't trigger anyway, even if it had been right at 230, because notice you get this green inside bar before it breaks lower, so it doesn't qualify for an entry anyway. And there it is. Big down day, but just not a lot of chance to get short on this. Um, Plenty of trades other than that early on, few later on, but nothing much on the trend on the way down. It just wasn't one of those trends where you get a lot of opportunities. So anyway, what looked like was going to be a range turned into be a big downward trend day. And we did get the break in new low, and then we reversed and we closed off the lows. So nothing spectacular, but we did close off the lows. So there it is. Nothing much else you can say about today. So there was a medium news item, but we don't worry about a speaker, Trump speaking. So can't be worried with that. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.